to Dipansh Video Time, and in this video I am going to be going through the basics of Python. So in this video we are going to be starting with variable types and we are going to be moving on and on. Sorry about that, and let's get started. So variable types. So variables store values. That's what variables do. Variables basically store values. So for example, x is equal to 7. What is the variable name? The variable name is x. What it's storing? It's storing the number 7. Or we can do y is equal to, let's say, hello. So what is the variable name? The variable name is obviously y. What the variable is storing? The variable is storing hello with an exclamation mark. Remember, it's not storing these. It's storing only this. Now let me tell you why, but we will go on to that later. So these are variables. So now there are a lot of types of variables in Python, but in this video I am going to be going through the most simplest ones. So first let's start with integer. Now what's an integer? An integer is a whole number, not a number. A number can be a decimal number, a whole number, but an integer is only a whole number. Okay? So for example, x is equal to 7. Now 7 is an integer, but y is equal to 7.5, let's say. So 7.5 is not an integer. You can see if I hover right on top of 7.5, okay, it's not happening right now. Now if I hover over here or over here, okay, you guys saw it. So a decimal, any number with a decimal would be a float. So we would go on to that later. So let's focus on integers. So an integer is always a whole number. Y is equal to 25. 25, is it an integer? Yes. So if x is equal to an integer, then let's say print let's say print hello, and now we should have hello printed out. Okay, yeah, it's okay. So I did a mistake there. So what's an integer? Integer is a whole number, so it can be any number. Any number, it can go up to millions and billions. But if you add a decimal in between and you are saying that, hey, if my number is an integer, then I want my number, which is an integer, to print out hello. It won't work because your number has a decimal point. So that decimal point makes your number an integer. So if you guys want to make notes, integer are numbers that are without any decimals. So integers are numbers that are without any decimals. Then float is totally the opposite. Float are numbers that have decimals. So float are numbers that have decimals. So examples of floats. So x is equal to, let's say, 25.78. That's a float. But y is equal to 89. This would be an integer because it doesn't have any decimal points behind it. If it has a decimal point, it's successfully a float. If it doesn't have a decimal point, it is an integer. But you can't write only a decimal point. That would come up as an error. So there should always be a number after the decimal point. Okay. So floats are numbers that have decimals. Now we're going on to some tricky stuff. Lists. So lists are variables that can store multiple values. So all of the floats we have seen here till now, 89, 25.78 is only one value. But don't say, hey, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, five numbers in it. No. This counts as a whole variable. It counts as a whole thing. It doesn't count as like 5 numbers or stuff. It counts as a whole number. So lists. So x is equal to, let's go on with hello, and 7. So you can see now instead of one value, we are holding 2 values, and we can go up to millions and millions of value like that. But remember one main thing. There should be a comma after each value. Obviously for the last value you don't need a comma, but from the first to the second last, all the way here, after a value you need a comma. Without a comma you will get errors and stuff, because if I do like this over here, it can't happen. But if you accidentally take out a comma between 2 numbers, they will just mix the numbers together. That doesn't matter. But if there's a space and then you do it, then there's an error. So lists are variables that can store multiple values. Wait, and I need to add. And they can be changed later on. So that's something you need to remember, because now we are going to go after strings, and after strings I would go through a tuple that is more advanced, I would say, but it's still simple to use. So let's go on to strings. Strings are variables that store letters and numbers, but with an quotation marks. So you always need single quotation marks or double quotation marks. So example. So now let's go on to an example of this. So an example would be x is equal to 9. Why is this a string? It has the number 9 in it, which is an integer. It's a string because we have open and closed quotation marks around it. But for y is equal to hello, this won't work. Both numbers and letters that you're trying to convert into a string needs to have quotation marks. If you don't use quotation marks, it will be wrong, totally wrong. So if we print the type of y, it is showing string, C class string. But if I take this out, now we can see, I'm printing on y, sorry. Yeah. So now if I print out x, you can see that now it shows an integer. Now if I Now if I change this to Z, the list to Z, and I say type of Z, then it would take up a list. Okay, now instead of a tuple, which are too complex, we would put that in the advanced category, and dictionaries also in the advanced category. So these are the main 4 types of variable types in Python. I hope you understood and learned something new about Python. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Until next time, Dipansh Video Time is out. Next video would be advanced variable types, string, tuples, and dictionaries. Bye bye.